Okay, y'all just follow the same.
Jay, can you? Yeah, there we go. Beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, just follow the same format. Follow the questions in the chat. That'd be great. Thank you.
What time are you practicing tomorrow, Coach?
We're practicing at 9:30 a.m. at University of Alabama, Birmingham.
What about that? What about that 9:30 start? What is that? I mean, is that a reason why you're practicing so early? It's pretty early baseball.
Yeah, it's just we want to get their bodies in tune with the time we're going to play our first game.
Can you elaborate on that first game being at 9:30 though?
That's where we're scheduled. You know, fitting 4 games into a day is a challenge when sometimes you deal with rain and TV and all those factors. So didn't really put much thought into it. We'll be there when they tell us to play, and they told us 9:30.
Yeah, Jay, Ron Higgins, Tiger Details. How crucial was it? I just mentally for y'all to win the series this past weekend, just mentally from a mental aspect.
I mean, mentally, we're trying to be solid every game that we play, and we play to win. This is a group of winners, and so they know how to do that. They've done that all year. You know, I think it's a good accomplishment to go 7-2-1 in SEC series, not get swept ever, and you know, they're a confident group. And you know, when you're a confident person and you're a mentally tough person, you don't get distracted by failure the way normal people do.
How beneficial, I guess, for these couple of days alone in a hotel just to exhale? I mean, you planned that, but how beneficial is that after a long regular season, you know, of tough games?
Yeah, I think it's very important. We try to be intentional with everything we do to help the players prepare to have success. And it just didn't make a lot of sense to fly all the way home and then bust 6 hours when we could just drive, you know, 2.5 or 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's a well-deserved 3-day break without a game. I don't know that we've had one of those in a long time throughout the schedule. And, you know, with our team, you know, there's certain key players that have pretty much played every pitch of every inning of every game. You know, I think, you know, Jordan and Dylan have played every game since I've been the coach here. And so for them to be able to rest their bodies and rest their minds a little bit, I think is a good thing.
Hi, Coach. Ben from Talk Nats. 2 of your top players are expected to go 1st and 2nd overall in the draft. What does that mean for the program and the coaching staff in general?
Means a lot. I mean, obviously we want to win championships and continue on the great tradition of LSU, but the only way I know how to do that is to have great players, and great players today are attracted to development and developing them, who can develop them to be major league players. And there won't be a player that we recruit, as long as I'm the coach here, where their ultimate goal isn't to play Major League Baseball someday. And so when you're talking about 2 players that in all likelihood are going to be drafted 1st and 2nd, I think that shows a lot of development. I mean, Dylan is a better player today than he was as a freshman. Paul came out of the transfer portal and chose us over any school in the country because he believed he could develop to be the best that he could be. And in my opinion, you're looking at the best position player in college baseball, the most prepared position player to go have success in professional baseball with Dylan. And you're looking at the best pitcher and the most prepared pitcher to have success in professional baseball. And both of those guys are calling LSU home. So it's a really big deal.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, just kind of the unique setup with these conference tournaments. Does it help you at all just for regional weekend in terms of how you kind of set up pitching staffs and whatnot, and how, you know, you kind of approach things where you're playing a team a different day, and then that's going to be kind of the same structure for regional, you know, next weekend? Does that kind of correlate at all?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, the difference is you're not going to play any teams from the Southeastern Conference next weekend. So maybe the benefit we have this week is, you know, we're going to see a team in the first game that we've played already, because we did play South Carolina and Georgia. And I think we've actually played all the teams on our side of the bracket. So, you know, next weekend you're playing teams from outside of the league that we probably haven't seen. Maybe we have when all the dust settles. But, you know, playoff baseball, it's about executing the game in the right way on the game that's in front of you, and then moving on to the next one. And so it's a good exercise in that. One of the reasons I like to play a preseason tournament is for that very reason, because the NCAA tournament, at least the first round and in the Omaha round, you're not playing the same team 3 days in a row. You're playing a different team each day. So, obviously getting that experience in Round Rock will be helpful. We played a tournament weekend non-conference at Alex Box, which that's what we'll be doing next week. And then obviously this SEC tournament. And I think all those things can be helpful as we move forward.
Just what's the update on Brady Neal, if anything?
Yeah, he took batting practice. Let's see, Saturday, prior to the game. Caught some bullpens, stood in on some bullpens. Still not 100%, but he's doing more than he was.
I don't know you well enough to know. I'm going to assume that you're going to want to win all of them. Your approach to the tournament any different? Do you push the guys any less hard because it's not the end of your season? You got more to play for.
It's a unique situation. This team's done such a good job with the regular season schedule. Like, we've played our way to where we want to be and playing postseason baseball at home. And so that's ultimately, I want these guys to get to Omaha. I want them to experience Omaha. And so the tournament that's going to decide that, we've done what we need to do, in regards to that. With that being said, we don't cancel games that we schedule, for any reason. We've talked about that before. And if you put the Tiger uniform on, whether it's the purple, the gold, or pinstripe or white or gray jersey, there's an expectation that we're competing to win. Like I said, these guys are winners and we play to win. I'll be the one that'll make the decisions, maybe what's in the best interest of next week. But, Dylan Cruz is going to step in the box and you're going to compete, to beat that pitcher's tail, and whoever we put on a mound at whatever time, they're going to try to execute. And, we're excited to be here. I think it's one of the best events in all of amateur baseball. And so there's a little bit of energy that comes along with it. So the players just need to go play and compete, and I'll handle those, maybe long-term or next week type decisions as they're relative to this.
You mentioned development specifically with Dylan and Paul, with those two guys winning the awards the day that they did. What kind of singular year development did you see in each?
Yeah, I think in Dylan, I've mentioned this before. He's a special player and he's an even better human being. And he was in a unique situation this year, coming back as the SEC Player of the Year, coming back as the guy that was probably one of the best players in the country last year. Everybody on the field knows that. And so for his self-discipline to stay within his plan, not try to do too much. The guy's just, all he's done is taken, Hall of Fame caliber at bats all season long. And I don't think many people in his situation could do that. And so we always knew how great he was. I think he put the stamp on that this year, because to be this consistent at this level in this league over his entire career, you don't see that hardly ever. And I think somebody mentioned, I don't know if it's true, that he's the first two-time Player of the Year in the league, or back-to-back years or something like that. That speaks for itself. And I believe he's the best player in the country. But just how he's handled himself in the midst of everybody knowing he's the best player in the country has served him well, and that will serve him well when he goes to the next level. He's also made himself a great center fielder. He's not a guy that needs to be moved to the corner of the outfield. He could play center field at the highest level. As far as Paul, it's remarkable. I think, him just focusing on pitching and not being a two-way player has really helped him in a lot of ways, helped him keep his strength in his legs and his body, limit the amount of rotations. It's helped him recover better. But he and Coach Wes Johnson really went to work on his slider, and that's a dominating pitch. It's one of the best pitches I've ever seen any college pitcher throw. And you're pairing that with a fastball that gained velocity and a changeup, and the person, we knew what we were getting. And he was all that and a heck of a lot more too. So Very grateful for those guys. I think it was an easy decision for SEC coaches of who the best player and who the best pitcher in this league were.
Yeah, Jay, to follow up on that, was it any surprise that I guess the two guys on your team that you've often said have the most professional approach from day to day won those awards?
Not at all. I think they're special players. They have unique baseball talent that two professional teams will pay a lot of money for, as they should. And then you get to know the human being part of it. And very rarely does that come along, in a coaching career. I've seen it maybe in two other players I've ever coached outside of those guys. And those guys are pretty special and doing some really great things in Major League Baseball right now. But they have the, whatever you want to call it, the it factor, the intangibles, the character. It matches their baseball ability. And think about what I just said, because their baseball ability is exceptional.
Yeah. Hey, coach, just, I'm not sure, just going back on your history, how many players you've had that have emerged late in the season, but I mean, Hayden Travinski, Josh Pearson, those are a couple of guys that, certainly seem like can be game changers for you guys offensively down the stretch here. Just the impact that those two guys have a chance to make here on your run down the stretch.
Yeah, they have a chance to make a tremendous impact. And it's not surprising on the inside because we're with them every day. When you look at Josh, he had an exceptional season last year as a freshman, which is really hard to do in this league. And that showed his capabilities, potential, maturity, all of those types of things. And, we tend to play winning baseball when he's in there. I like when he's in the lineup. And this is just a hard team to get on the field on, as we have a lot of guys that I feel that way about. But his attitude and work ethic and confidence in himself, team first attitude has never wavered. And so when we've put him in, he's always been ready. And he's a guy that has performed far better than his stat line suggests this year. And so we know he can make a positive contribution. With Hayden, the ability's always been there. Frankly, he just has not been healthy for a long stretch since I've been the coach here. And tough program right now as a position player. If you're down, somebody else can do the job on this team. And so that's all that really happened. I was fully ready for him to be the opening day starter, at catcher or at DH, given his talent. He just needed to get healthy. And again, I have to give Hayden really high marks for staying engaged as he had to work his way back to getting healthy, work his way into opportunities. And as he got those in pinch hit opportunities, he took advantage of them. We could see it. Sometimes, when you have a high end talent player on your roster and you give him a chance, it can really give you a shot in the arm. And that's what he's done. And he's taken really, really good at bats. And, he can affect the game in ways that not everybody can. And that's a really good thing for us right now and moving forward.
Of course, this team has dealt with some injuries on the pitching side, but so Arkansas, Vanderbilt, South Carolina have all dealt with injuries. Do you think in a way like college baseball is like kind of the like battle of like health and depth? And, how do you think has stepped up during this time from the staff?
Yeah, I think depth is important. We definitely have that because, we wouldn't have been able to withstand and win 42 games and be in position to be a national seed if we didn't have it. So it's obviously important. And, it's hard to build. It's really hard to build with, Major League Baseball draft injuries, evaluations, the competitiveness in recruiting. And thankfully we were able to have that this year with the injuries. So that's important. As far as what's happened or going on at other programs, I can't really speak to.
Hi, Coach. One more draft-related question. College coaches have gone on record comparing Steven Strasburg to Paul Skeens, both prospects, similar metrics. What do you think about those comparisons, and how can you tell your players to not focus on the outside noise and all the conversations about them?
The first one, nobody knows how good a college pitcher Steven Strasburg was than me. we lost to him a lot. I mean, over 3 years, when I was at the University of San Diego. I remember one game in particularly in 2009, struck out 18 times. He threw like 120 pitches, and he threw a slider like 87 pitches of the 120. I mean, it was just remarkable. And it was so firm that it looked like a fastball, and it was just impossible to lay off of. And we were like a bat or two from getting him out of the game, and he just buckled down, and then we couldn't do anything going forward. And for me, he is the best college pitcher I've ever seen, you know, until I saw Paul do what Paul did this year. So I think it's probably the most accurate comparison you could make in regards to that. As far as draft noise and all of that, like, I mean, you got a chance, I think, to talk to both those guys today, and when they speak, they're just totally about the right things. They know what's ahead of them. They got a great life and a great career ahead of them. And you know, their gift or their ability, one of their gifts or abilities is they're right here, right now. And you know, not just soaking this in, taking it in, but they know that's how they're at their best, and now they can impact their team and their teammates. And that's all I've seen from them. And it's why they've performed, you know, all year the way that they have. And I don't anticipate that changing, just knowing those guys as well as I do.
You obviously knew Dylan would be able to kind of handle the attention that would come with him this year. How curious were you to see how Skeens would handle kind of the extra eyes on him, and just now obviously vaulting up to a potential top 2 pick?
Yeah, I had zero concerns, and it was why he was the priority for us in recruiting. And as soon as he went in the portal, because there's talent all over college baseball, there's talent all over the SEC. Getting talent with this mindset, it doesn't come along very often. And you know, the best way I can describe Paul is there's not a player in the country that has more positively impacted a team or a program over the last 8 or 9 months than Paul. You know, with obviously the on the field contributions, you can't do any better than that. And leadership, I mean, he's the unquestioned leader of our team. And so you think about what that takes from a person standpoint to be able to make that type of impact. It's not out there. And so knowing that's what he was made up of, you know, spent my entire summer making sure that we did everything we could, that LSU was the place he was going to get to make that impact. And it's been remarkable of what he's been able to do.
Did that happen quickly, or was that just sort of a season-long thing where kind of slowly it starts to manifest?
Yeah, and I think you get the same person every day with the highest level of character. And, you know, the special thing about guys like that is they're so dialed into what they need to do to be the best or be successful that everybody around them gets positively affected. And so when they saw him operate the way that he does, and you have another player like Dylan that operates the way that he does, it's almost like they created this standard of nobody wants to let those two down. And then now all of a sudden, nobody wants to let anybody down. And, you know, it's one of the best player leadership groups I've had. And it starts with them, and it's of them holding the bar so high, and then everybody rising up to that.
Hey, coach, any idea who's starting on Wednesday, or are you just going to wait until?
Yeah, we won't announce till Wednesday because we don't know who we're playing, and you know, we're not going to know who's starting for the other team.
Is that kind of hard to plan around, or is it just having the familiarity of those two teams just makes?
Yeah, playoff baseball. You know, we make the best assessment we can based on who they pitch on Tuesday, and you know, we do have a benefit that we have played both South Carolina and Georgia. Obviously just played Georgia. Pretty good idea what they'll do. You know, they're starting Jaden Woods tomorrow, who's coming off an injury. So I'm sure we'll see one of the guys that we saw last weekend. And, you know, South Carolina, I haven't seen who they've decided to start yet. But we'll go to work on that after the game on Tuesday when we know who we're playing.
Anything you do this week affect what you do next week?
As far as
pitching goes?
it's probably the other way around, if that makes sense. You know, next week, the thoughts into next week, you know, play a part in how we go about doing what we're going to do here. Because, you know, I would love to win this tournament. I think it's, again, one of the best events in amateur baseball, but we need to position ourselves well for next weekend.
Anyone else?
Great, thanks.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, Jay.
Thanks, coach.
All right, thank y'all. I'll send this recording out once it's finished processing. I'll send it out via email. Thank y'all for joining us.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, thanks for doing it, Bill.
You're welcome.